Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, today is officially Baron Sorrell Day. We have some news to get to. You know, we got obviously Jaire stuff to talk about. We got some fifth-year option stuff to talk about. I don't think we talked about that yet. I can't remember. I don't think so. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't even honestly know the details of that yet. I just saw there was something, so we'll mention what it is. Probably nothing would be my guess as to what the news is. But then we get to the man, the myth, the legend. It's kind of, I was thinking about this before I did the podcast. He reminds me of kind of an every year tradition, and I will say Packer fans' hit rate has not been terrible here. And I can't say definitively that this is like the guy, but it feels a little bit like this is this year's the guy. And assuming we're not setting unrealistic standards and saying this guy's going to be a superstar, just that this is kind of the guy that Packer fans say he's going to be good. And that's it. And we'll just kind of leave it at that. It is sort of a tradition. It generally is a mid-round pick. 2024's guy, I would say, was Oladapo. We didn't really get a chance to see him. There was a little bit of hype about Evan Williams. I liked Evan Williams. I know a few other people did. It was kind of one of those last minute when you go watch the tape. It's like, oh, wait a minute now. But that's a little more Savion Williams to me than what Baron Sorrell is. By the way, that is how you say his name. It's not Sorrell, it's Sorrell. Just for those wondering, because I know there's a lot of that. But I would say 2024 is to be determined. 2023's guy, I would say, was Tucker Kraft. That worked out. The fans were all in on Tucker. He ended up being a solid pick. In 2022, I would argue there were two guys, and both of them hit. Romeo Doubs and Kingsley Enagbare. I was a little more Zach Tom, but that wasn't like a general consensus thing. There was a lot of this Romeo guy's going to be good. There was a ton of Kingsley Enagbare hype. And you can say, well, Kingsley hasn't been that good. For a fifth-round pick, I think he's been pretty exceptional. You could even possibly argue that 2022 was a great fan year because there was a decent amount of hype for Rasheed Walker. And I think it was just because he was such a high value at the time. He was never supposed to make it that far. But when you couple a lot of Romeo hype, he hit. A decent amount of Zach Tom hype for me, which hit, and probably some others. A ton of fan hype about Kingsley that hit. A bunch of Rasheed hype that hit. Not bad. 2021 was TJ Slaton. I obviously I haven't been a big fan of TJ Slaton. He is no longer with the team. For a fifth round pick, though, I'm going to give that to the fans. When you compare that to Eric Stokes, Amari Rodgers, Royce Newman, Cole Van Lanen, some of the other guys in that draft class, many of them earlier picks, for TJ Slaton to be kind of the guy, in my opinion, Amari, you could say, had a decent amount of hype, possibly. You know, I hate that it was a third-round pick, and it seems somewhat competent. By the way, I thought about that as well. Calling that a hype is a little bit weird because Amari was outside of the what the Packers usually do because his RAS was really low. He was not really a great athlete. So Savion Williams, kind of a different thing. But I would say the TJ Slaton thing was kind of a hit. For a fifth-round pick that's been a starter basically since day one, even an underwhelming one, I'm feeling good about that one. 2020. Trying to think where all the hype was. I think there was a decent amount for Garvin in the 7th round. I don't know about mid-round picks. I know I like Josiah. I just think Packer fans hated the 2020 draft. I don't really remember. But let's just say since 2021, there have generally been these mid-round guys that fans have been like, I freaking kind of like that guy. And I would say Baron Sorrell is that guy. Matthew Golden's a first-round pick. A lot of people like him. Second round, pretty much everybody disliked it. Savion is kind of coming around. Again, that's kind of a different category. I haven't heard hardly anything about Colin Oliver, Warren Brinson, Micah Robinson, or John Williams. I've heard almost no general fan hype, but Baron Sorrell is that guy this year, I think, if I had to pick. And based on Packer fans' track record, I am inclined to listen. Again, the standard is not shockingly high. I would say hopefully slightly better than Kingsley being 1 round earlier. But that's about it. Who are the other 4th round? Were there any other 4th round? Romeo. So Romeo would be kind of the standard, which I would say is relatively high, and I think that that's fair. Kingsley, but upgraded. He's kind of a number 2, number 3. I'm good with that. Anyways, Baron Sorrell. Plus, I mean, leave all that aside. The story, great human being. The whole draft thing was phenomenal. But I think even without that, I know a lot of Packer fans are latching onto that. I think even without that, he'd be the guy. He checks every box that fans would like. First of all, he's the first pass rusher, which fans have been dying for. He's built right. His stats are right. His PFF grades are right. He's got the production. He's got the grade. He's got it all, man. Not necessarily from an elite standpoint, but he just checks all the boxes. And I think fans, no matter what, would have latched onto that. You add the story and the press conference and the fact that he was there, the whole thing, this is the guy. So that's who we're going to talk about today. Also, before we get started, when we went up to Green Bay, family and I and whatnot, we stayed with Clayton and the crew. Didn't stay there, but we parked there and kind of hung out with them for a minute. Apparently, one of my kids left some kind of a sweatshirt or something there. I don't know. But Tim, also known as Mr. G on X on Twitter, Packer fan MKEGRB, not the easiest to remember and find, but it's there. Packer fan Milwaukee, Green Bay. Anyways, he was nice enough to send that back. I offered to reimburse him for it and whatnot, and he said, "Nah, just maybe give us a shout out over there on your show." So I will do that. Check out Packers Total Access. Show those boys some love. Give Mr. G a follow. And Tim, I appreciate you doing that, man. Okie dokie. Biddy boop bop biddy boop. Too many tabs open. I can't find anything. Albert Breer over at Sports Illustrated. I don't know if he took over for this like Monday morning quarterback kind of thing or what, but it's sort of a I guess it's a mailbag. So Albert Breer did an article over at Sports Illustrated. It's got a bunch of different details in it. Quite a bit of it is interesting to us, or to me anyways. First off, he talks about Aaron Rodgers. The question is, will we hear from Aaron Rodgers this week regarding the Steelers? Apparently, and this maybe was mentioned on Pat McAfee, I don't know, he talked about there being some kind of a personal issue within his circle. He likes to talk about his circle. He's got the inner circle of trust or whatever. But I guess something's going on there. And I probably shouldn't even say it, but I don't mean to be insensitive, but that can't be 100% of the reason. No matter what's going on with your friends and your family and whatnot, you still have to make a decision here. You know what I mean? That wouldn't stop you from, making a phone call and saying, I think I'm ready or whatever. So, again, he didn't say that was the reason. He just said it was slowing down the process, which I think is fair. He goes on to say the Steelers have expressed kind of publicly that they expect him to eventually sign with them. I think most of us probably do. But, you look at the Jaire saga and realize how quickly, and I've been saying this all along, things can change rapidly. It could be 95% this, and then all of a sudden, whoa, it's 95% the other way, or 100%, like a deal gets done. And that's, the offseason was a lot of that. There were, this is going to happen, and then he resigned, like Max Crosby. Like, it looked like he was on his way out. There were all the signals and signs, and then he resigns. So there's a whole lot of that stuff going on. But, Rodgers is in that phase. He did, Brett Favre did the same thing. He strung along the Packers all the time, which drove me nuts. Tom Brady kind of went through a will he, won't he thing. I don't really remember how long he would do that. I feel like he didn't do it for very long, but it's just a thing, I don't know. You get to a point where it's like, man, this is a lot of work, dude. I'm getting old, and I have so much money. I really don't need it. So money's not a motivator anymore. It's not none of this is life-changing or even life-altering. So it just comes down to how much do I love it? And you probably vacillate between I can't let it go because it's just such a huge thing to just walk away. But at the same time, I really don't want to do all this bullcrap training nonsense and the grind, which is probably why most of these guys should retire. It's just a matter of I can't let it go. I don't want it to be over. It's such a big decision. But as a team, do you want somebody that's that unsure? They really, the whole thing comes down to I don't want to participate in team activities. I don't want to do practice. I don't want to do training camp. I don't know. It's not a great start. And then a little bit further down from Rob. He says, if the Packers did trade Jaire Alexander, who are the teams most likely to be interested? He says, and I'll just read it because it's not very long. Rob, I could throw the San Francisco 49ers, Rams, Steelers, and Chiefs out there as teams that entered the draft with needs at the position and didn't take corners in the first 2 rounds of the draft. The question to me comes down to money. He's due $17.5 million this year, and because of his recent injury history, that's shown to be a bit rich for interested teams. Alexander, meanwhile, would rather be cut so he can pick his destination, and he might not be willing to help with a contract adjustment to facilitate a trade. I would think at this point, the most likely scenario is that he's back on a reduced contract that has incentives we'll see. So it's very interesting because when you read the first part, it's kind of an eye roll. Like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. He doesn't want to work with the team. He wants the Packers to cut him. He understands he's not getting this big of a contract, but he just wants to be cut so that he and his agent can do things their way. Why should I be traded? That puts the power in the Packers' hands for my fate. I'd rather just say, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not cutting my... And if you end up trading me for this contract, great. But I want to be cut, and then I get to decide what team I go to, and we get to work out a contract that's fair. It's not going to be obviously what I wish it was, but it is what it is. But strangely, at the very end, he says, I would think at this point the most likely scenario is that he's back on a reduced contract that has incentives. I hope that's true. I just don't know how you connect those two pieces. He wants to be cut. I mean, let me read it. Alexander would rather be cut so he can pick his destination. If he wants to be cut so that he can pick his destination, I mean, it does say rather, so maybe in order of things, go back on a reduced price, be cut and choose my destination, or be but I would assume that doesn't make sense. I mean, you'd rather be traded at this contract because then you get to keep it, right? Even if you don't get to pick your destination. And then after that would be pick your destination. And then third would be to stay where I don't want to play and have a reduced contract. That seems to be the worst of all possible scenarios. Not for me, but based on what we're talking about here with Jaire, that's basically preemptively said, don't even come to me with a contract restructure or reduction because I'm not doing it. The Packers are like, I didn't even say anything. What are you talking about? So, I mean, it's just a guess from his point. And I'm going to lend it credence just because I want it to be true. But I don't know how A leads to B. He's choosing not to work with the Packers, knowing full well that nobody will trade for him because of the belief that... I mean, I guess the only real leverage the Packers have is to just put your foot down and say, we're not cutting you. And I could see Gutekunst doing that, to be very honest. Which, at that point, maybe Jaire does end up just bending and saying, okay, fine. But I don't know if the Packers are that strong in wanting him to stay as opposed to kind of wanting him to go and saying, I'd rather just cut him. But if they get to the point where they're like, you know what, the best option is for him to stay, and they go to him and say, we're not cutting you, and, you know, we're not trading you, and so you will be a Packer. I mean, that is the only path. I'm seeing two probable paths. One, they cut him. Two, they say, we refuse to cut you, and you can sit on the bench and not collect a paycheck as long as you want, but we're not cutting you. We will bring you back on a restructured deal, and that's it. You know, in other words, you're going to play for us. If you want to play on this contract, I mean, I can't force you to restructure. I mean, just congratulations, you're on our team. You made it. But again, I just don't know if they're to the point where they want him back that badly that they would do that. The only thing they could really do is threaten it. Which really, I mean, you could see that as well, where Gutekunst says, we don't want you to play for us, but we will get trade compensation for you. And if you're not going to be reasonable and adjust your contract so that we can trade you, we will not cut you. So your two options are take a reduction and allow us to trade you, and we'll work with you on the destination, or you sit on the bench and you get no money. And the worst part about that is the year doesn't accrue on your contract, so you just restart. So the idea that I'm just going to sit it out and then the Packers, you know, this is my last year with them or whatever, so that my time is gone. No, You can't burn out the clock sitting on the bench. The Packers own you for as long as you have on that contract. So if you have a year or 2 years, you're going to play 2 years. If you sit out, we still have a year or 2 years. And we will have that as long as you... So that is the major leverage of the Packers. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. Because Gutekunst definitively wants compensation. He does not want to cut him for nothing. So I could see that being the play. You have 3 options. You can sit on the bench, you can play for us, or you can take a reduction and we'll trade you to a team that you want to go to. Kind of. Maybe. We'll see who's interested. But cutting you and letting you walk for nothing is not an option. Yeah, I think that's it. Now, they might just cut him, but for me sitting here, I think that would be my plan. You know, you and your agent go find teams. Go scare them up. But, you know, you find suitors and you find reasonable contracts, we'll talk to them on compensation that we want, and we'll work this thing out. Otherwise, you will play for us. And man, I hope he does that. No offense, Jaire. I know that's a little heavy-handed and not very nice, but I mean, we got to get something for you, man. That's just the way it goes. It's probably not going to be much. I mean, granted, if you work out a reasonable contract, it could be a decent amount. But yeah, nothing. I don't know, dude. It doesn't sit great with me. By the way, there was another report of I think it was Abdul Carter, the number 2 selection in the draft, also received a prank phone call that he was going to go number 2. I think he went number 3. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So, sounds like everybody was pranked, but of course, only the Falcons are forced to repent of their sins. I think some people were hoping for, little harakiri action, little seppuku, But unfortunately, only crying and paying lots of money will be allowed. As for the 5th-year option news, the Packers are exercising the 5th-year option on Devonte Wyatt. Essentially, all that does is add an additional year. So every rookie gets 4 years. For first-round picks, you have the option to pick up a 5th year. It's usually a pretty hefty amount of money. So Devonte Wyatt will be guaranteed $12.9 million in 2026. So he got himself a good chunk of change there. Quay Walker did not, but I don't necessarily know what that means. Generally speaking, if you don't get your 5th-year option picked up, the team is probably looking to move on. However, it's already been stated by the GM and reported that the intention is to offer him an extension, possibly even before this season. So and just in terms of what does that mean of who they like more, we got to see the contract. I don't know. They might be looking to lock him up long term, but maybe just get him for a cheap price because he hasn't really proven a ton, which I think would be fair. I think you could easily look at it and say, look, we can give him a low contract with the expectation that he'll be able to play at a baseline minimum for us in this scheme for many years. But also, you know how these contracts work. It'll probably end up being like a 1 to 2 year deal anyways. So it just ends up being a lot cheaper than what a 5th-year option would have been, as compared to Devonte Wyatt, where an extension for him, a pass-rushing defensive tackle, probably going to be more money. So at the end of the day, it might end up being kind of the same thing for both. It's just which is the most financially feasible or whatever. But it will be interesting to see if and when he does get that contract extension, what that looks like. But I can't imagine it's a very big one. But it does mean that Gutekunst does plan to hang on to these guys. And I'm very happy, obviously, for Wyatt, who I am a fan of. I do think he's a little bit underrated. He hasn't quite hit the ceiling that I think he can. And I'm hopeful that getting a guy in, maybe a better one tech or something that can kind of free things up for him a little bit better. I'm hopeful that we can start to see him thrive. Listen, year 2 in the scheme, better defensive line coach. He's got his best opportunity right now to really prove it, but we shall see. Okay, why don't we take a break? We'll come back and dig into our boy Baron Sorrell. All right, so first of all, because it's been a couple days, I probably should have done this for a couple of the other guys, and I did not. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it takes a while, but I just want to touch on some of the main points here over at the Beast Guy, just so we can kind of get reacclimated a little bit. So he is 6'3", 256, 22 years old. He's originally from New Orleans, He's one of the few guys that committed to a program and stayed there the entire time. In high school, he went to Holy Cross and got a 4.6 GPA. He earned academic all-state honors, so super intelligent guy. In 2024, he had LASIK surgery to help with his eyes. I'm sure that can't hurt anything. And something that has become a staple of the Green Bay Packers, a major tragic life event for Baron Sorrell. He lost his brother. His brother, I believe, was 25 at the time. Barryn would have been, I believe, 15 or 16 years old. He credits that moment as being a moment when he really started to dedicate himself to football. Did a little bit of sleuthing. I'm pretty sure I know how he passed away, but I'll just leave that alone. But obviously a very tragic situation for the family that, he's coming into a locker room that obviously is pretty much everybody in there has dealt with something similar. So Barryn was quoted as saying, "I play for something that's bigger than just football and more to me, and that really just starts with family. I lost my oldest brother, Barry Jr., when I was 16, and at the time I had to make a decision in my life, and I had made the decision to give football everything that I've got. That's what's gotten me here. I'm always going to have that passion and that hunger, and that's honestly what makes me the player that I am." Some other, the character stuff is through the roof. We'll get to a couple other things, but Sorrell was a team captain at Texas and did not miss a single game in his last 3 seasons, underscoring his durability and leadership. Described as a leader, competitor, and winner. So, Milt Hendrickson talked about this, but the fact that he was the last guy, everybody, the question for everybody is, why is he there? I still don't know that we got a definitive answer. Somebody had said he just wanted to be kind of around, but at the same time, like he was, I don't fully understand the story. But the fact that he is the last guy backstage, still sticking around on day 3 and gets picked, he is like a unanimous, we'll get to the quote, I believe, but when you ask guys on the team to point to someone, over there at Texas, they're pointing to Baron Sorrell for leadership and work ethic and all that stuff. Again, he picked Texas. He stuck with Texas the whole time. Very rare. He is among a group of people that have high character. He kind of stands alone there. He's a super strong guy. I know one of the quotes from a scout was, "If I had arms like his, I'd never wear sleeves." But apparently he benches 425, squats 575, and clocked 19.4 miles per hour in game max velocity. So one of these games where they track that. We know all this because he was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. He was listed at number 79 on Feldman's freak list. He said the 6'4", 260-pound senior clocked one of the fastest max velocity times of any defensive lineman in college football last fall when he hit 19.4 miles per hour during a game. Texas coaches are excited for Sorrell to take his game to another level after he had a terrific season. He benched 425, squatted 575, power cleaned 355, but coaches say the most impressive number is his explosive burst for his size. He's consistently has registered 20 miles per hour on the catapult system. I have no idea what these freaking things are, but great. Let me look it up. I gotta know. The catapult system is a wearable athlete monitoring technology used in sports, including college football, to track and analyze player performance in real time. It consists of a small device often worn in a vest or embedded in equipment that use GPS, accelerometers, gyroscopes, and other sensors to collect detailed data on metrics like speed, acceleration, distance covered, workload, and explosive moments. For example, it can measure a player's maximum velocity, as seen with the 20 miles per hour recorded by the athlete in the quote. That would be our guy. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. He's also got a 932 RAS for those that observe the holiday. I don't know what that means. I just know people care a lot. He's athletic, big time. All right, let's start cracking into some of the press conference stuff. Let me change the settings here. There we go. Here is no particular order because it's just kind of a mess. Matt LaFleur, we've gone through these videos 100 times, but we're just picking out individual pieces. Here's Matt LaFleur one-on-one with The Rock talking about Mr. Baron Sorrell.
Baron Sorrell, taken today, and he's in town. Was that cool or what?
What was It was surprising, that's for sure. I had no idea that he was in town. I guess it was meant to be. What a cool moment. He really is a culture changer. He's one of the toughest players at Texas, played in a lot of big-time games, and he was productive for 4 years there.
In the film I've seen, it looks like he is a very physical presence, period, but especially in the pass rush.
Yeah, like I said, we always look for play style, and he embodies what we want to be about as a Green Bay Packer defense.
This is Matt LaFleur. I think this is the after the draft entirely, his kind of overall recap.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So just going back to that moment, we were all unaware that he was here. And so when the commissioner got on stage and was announcing him, to be honest with you, I thought he was going to announce somebody to announce the pick.
By the way, I did too. I don't know if I said that before or if you thought that. When the commissioner said, because he was getting booed at the time, he's like, this guy is here right now, so let's give him show him some respect or whatever the case may be. I remember thinking like a kid was going to come out or something, like some, a kid with a disease or like, it was very like, guys, please be nice. And I was like, oh, who's coming out here? And then he said, with the such and such pick. I'm like, what are you doing? Where's the guy? Like, I don't understand. It was very weird, but very cool.
For him. And then to watch him come out, he was obviously very emotional, which I think is always a good sign. And to see the way our crowd reacted and how they embraced him. And then I wasn't in the stadium, but I heard he was doing the Lambeau Leap and all that. And he had his family here. So I got an opportunity to meet him and his family. And it was a pretty cool moment. It was pretty surreal. And combine that with the fact that, it's ironic that he and Golden were teammates and they were both here. And I texted Matthew right after that pick, and he was ecstatic. He said he was in the middle of a workout, which you love to hear anyway, but he said he got turned up from that. So that was pretty cool.
Here's a little bit later on in that. I'll play the question too. I'm not sure. Usually you can't hear it, but I'll play it just so you get the context. Hopefully you can hear it.
What do you feel like you added to your pass rush with the three guys early today?
Well, we added, just going down the list with Sorrell, I think he's a big-time culture guy, and he played 4 years at Texas and played at a high level in some big-time games. One of the things, I don't know if I mentioned it in here, but, as we get these 30 visits, and we had a couple guys from Texas come through here, you always ask these guys who are the best practice players, or if you're going to a team, who are you bringing with you? And they consistently, unanimously always pointed to him. So I think that speaks volumes to not only the type of player he is, but the type of teammate, type of person, type of competitor, and you can never have enough of those guys.
Here's Gutekunst on the post-draft press conference.
The two rushers you picked there later in the draft, is there any reason to think that they can help you right off the bat? Or
yeah, absolutely. Obviously, there's going to be a transition there, but they're two different guys. One guy wins with a lot of power and length and hands, and the other guy's got some athleticism and speed, who's played on his feet a little bit as well. So I think there's some
Sorrell's the power guy, obviously.
Versatility there. I think both those guys can contribute, but again, we'll see. It's those guys coming in the National Football League, it's a whole different ballgame, but I think both those guys can compete.
Hey, Brian. Matt and Milt both talked about with Barryn that it was kind of a surprise that he actually wasn't done. What was your reaction when you found out about that?
It was pretty funny. We get him on the phone, obviously, right before we return the pick in, and there's a ton of noise going on. They were very excited. And I heard Matt Klein, who, when I hand the phone out, he's talking to him about, hey, when you come up for camp, where are you coming from? He said, well, he had to fly back to home, and no one thought to ask him, well, where are you flying from? We just figured he was somewhere else, and so to find out that he was here was a complete shock when we saw him on TV walking down the runway, and it shouldn't have been because he was on the list, right? But it was just one of those things we didn't really think about. But what a cool moment that was. Just to watch that and not shocking at all, because for those of us that scouted him, he is as genuine and as good of a person. And one of the reasons that we drafted him was for a lot of the stuff you guys got to see today.
Here's Milt Hendrickson. This is after it's after they took Baron Sorrell and Colin Oliver. Milt Hendrickson came to talk about both of these guys. So here is a little bit of that.
Just real quick on Barryn. Obviously, he was here, and you guys got a chance to see him, and what a cool moment that was. We did not know he was here, in the sense that wasn't the reason we picked him. But it's just some things are just meant to be, and it was a pretty cool moment both for him and I think for the organization as well. Of what he brings, both as a human being, just the ruggedness and physicality this guy plays with. You define him, I just say he's a football player. He's going to make us better. He's going to make that room better.
I'll tell you what, I'm getting anxiety about when to take this break. Let's just do it now, and then we'll come back. I've got this interview, I think one more, and then some actual Baron Sorrell, his press conference, as well as a one-on-one with The Rock. And then I've also got some other things I want to talk about, like the Senior Bowl, I believe it was. He had a phenomenal day there. So got still a lot more to get through. Let's just take the break now, and then we'll cruise through it. All right, here's a little bit more about... It's a cool story. I wish 90% of the conversation around Baron Sorrell wasn't about the fact that he was in Green Bay, but here's a little bit more on that. They asked him to follow up for some reason.
It kind of encapsulates what happens in the draft room sometimes. You exist in this bubble through the whole draft process. And when Mr. Goodell got up there and said, "Oh, this kid is here," I thought he was having somebody else come up and announce the pick, not realizing he was actually in the green room. And I mean, you guys had a chance. It sounds like he paid his way here. Just wanted to be a part of it. And big, fast, smart, tough, good people who need football. I think with him, you can just check all those boxes. And if that isn't enough of an anecdote to tell you what kind of kid that is, I don't know what else.
I'm going to play this piece here. Talked about it a lot, but since it's become such a common thing, and because it applies to Baron Sorrell too, I don't know that the media necessarily caught up to it. Golden and I think Savion Williams were kind of described as guys that have, quote unquote, been through some stuff. I'm sure a lot of the other guys have as well. But since that applies to Baron Sorrell, here's Milt Hendrickson kind of elaborating on why they focus on that so much.
I think for any good scouting department, you have to wrap your mind around the fact that these are young men who've been through a life. Their life to this point is different than how I grew up in a small town in southwestern Wisconsin. I never had to worry about locking our doors, but so many of these kids come from so many different backgrounds, and adversity for one person could be a complete 180 for the other person, what they've had to deal with. So it comes in a lot of ways, and it's a roundabout way of answering the question, but I think if you have guys who've been through tough times, in their minds, whatever that tough time is, and they've come out okay on the other side, that they're going to be callous enough to be able to handle the day in and day out of what it takes, not only to be in this league, but then to be successful. But at the same time, too, guys that haven't had to handle adversity and they've had a bunch of success, sometimes that's a greater measure of how guys handle the success. You've achieved something. Now, what do you bring the next day? And are you going to bring guys with you? And we've talked a little bit about it. Like, leaders by example are great, but we need leaders that are going to bring other people with them. And I think, to Brian's credit, his time here and my time being able to be here, I think we've really done a good job of bringing those type of people here.
It's certainly been a massive. I mean, we've all seen it. It started. Jordan's story was kind of the first that I had heard of, and I'm sure there was more of this in the past. We just didn't hear about it as much. But you hear about Jordan's dad passing away. And that's like, holy cow, that's terrible. And it endears you to him, and you appreciate the struggle he's been through and the adversity that he fought through and all that stuff. Then, Jaden Reed, his dad passed away, and Tucker Kraft, his dad had passed away. And there's many others who lost siblings or parents or whatever. And, I don't remember everybody's specific story, but again, digging around with this guy who's I already knew was massively high character. I didn't realize that. And again, in those formative years, it's always like 15-ish years old that these people lose somebody, and there's a question of what do you do now? And for Jordan, there was a question of should I continue? For Sorrell, there was a question of should I continue? For a lot of these guys, you have to make a decision at that point. Do I crumble into myself and quit everything, or do I use this as fuel to go be great? And the guys, and I'm sure there are tons of stories of superstar athletes in high school that go through adversity and they fall off. They quit, or drugs, or whatever the case may be. I'm sure for every Jaden Reed, for every Jordan Love and Baron Sorrell, there's got to be 10, 20, 30 that crumble under the pressure. And so the point is, these are the guys that come out the other side, that have such a unique characteristic to them that they can use that adversity as fuel and have the strength to persevere and not just survive the day, which can be hard enough through some of those tough times, just to wake up and get out of bed, but to be able to go above and beyond, to go to the weight room and continue to work out when you're still trying to process something like that just happened. When you're still going to your school and your classes and getting a 4-point whatever Baron Sorrell had in high school at I'm assuming private Catholic high school, which is much more rigorous. He gets a 4-point whatever GPA, doing all the academics, going to the weight room, studying film, putting it out on the field. At first, when you think about these things, it seems like, come on, why would you use that as a criteria? Like, I'm happy for them, but I mean, can you play football? It's kind of, but I mean, really, that is a heck of a intangible characteristic.
In that same vein, we only know Barryn for the span of a 20-minute press conference, but it was pretty emotional. Obviously, he was shouting out his family. But what did you learn about him in that process of going through this, and just kind of the human that you guys were bringing in?
I mean, I was. Jason just showed us the clip. We were on the clock selecting Colin, and not realizing that he had gotten that emotional, and it kind of chokes you up a little bit because you realize, what it means, not just to be in the National Football League, but to be here, and for him to bet on himself. It's if that guy stays healthy, he's going to play as long as he wants to.
Here's the one-on-one, Milt Hendrickson speak. I assume, well, I guess that can't be because I think he's in the media room. I'm not sure. Maybe he's not. These guys seem to go do the press conference, and then when they walk outside, here's press conference number 2. You get your one-on-one with The Rock over here. But anyways, I'm glad that they do it because it's nice to kind of hone in on it a little bit. Here he is talking a little bit more about Baron Sorrell.
I think if you were to, nobody uses a dictionary anymore, but if you're open a dictionary and see the definition of a football player, that it would be him. Incredibly impressed with, the way he plays, the rugged style, physicality, but then as much about that as who he is. The guy, the passion and the energy that he plays with, there's a lot to like.
I know he did 28 reps on the bench, which is stout, but there's weight room strong and there's football strong. Barryn, he's football strong. I mean, he can stop you in your tracks with those hands.
Yes, he's very football strong. He's a guy that can take on the double team. He can play a tight end. He can play on the open side against the tackle. And he's got knockback. And as you know, in football terms, knockback and resetting the line of scrimmage, sometimes that's all it takes. He's a guy that can play on all 3 downs. And he just, I go back to his style of play. It matches a lot of what we want to do.
Are these guys what you would call good guys? Packer guys?
100%. Both guys come highly, highly recommended by both the places that they played at. They're both competitive. They're both tough. They're both leaders. And I think it's just ironic that they ended up being back-to-back picks, but I think they've got a chance to follow a path together here.
Milt, you've been doing this a long time. What's the number one thing you look at when you look at a prospect?
Oh, that's a good question. I think ultimately is when you turn on the tape, Are you somebody that jumps off the tape at you? And are you somebody that plays with a style of play, whether it's offense, defense, special teams? I don't know where we get them, but you just want to try to get that guy because of the way they play, how hard they play. It becomes infectious and contagious, and it brings other guys along.
All right, now we get a little extra access because, again, he was in the facility, so he got to do a press conference. I don't think we're going to have time to go through that whole thing. I'll have to kind of pick and choose. It's like 20 minutes, maybe. I don't know. But here's his one-on-one with The Rock.
A special
Turn this
treat.
up.
We are joined by fourth-round draft choice, Baron Sorrell. Baron, welcome to Green Bay. And let me get this straight. You've been here since Wednesday. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, been here since Wednesday. Thankful to the NFL for the whole green room and everything experienced, but also thankful that I got a head start in just learning about my new home.
What was it like when the call finally came?
Man, it's like I've been looking at my phone so much throughout the process. I'm like, is this really happening? And it was a call. I swiped right, answered it, and man, the emotions that I got, I can't even describe it. Just thankful.
And just so I have this clear, your whole family's kind of been with you since Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
What have they thought of Green Bay? What have you thought of Green Bay?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good to us, just the way that they embraced us, especially the league did a good job of setting everything up, and I'm just thankful to be a part of a community and like Green Bay.
Now, you have already been inside Lambeau Field. It's not like the first time you've been in a big stadium, but what did it feel like going in Lambeau?
Man, it felt great just knowing that this is where I'm going to be. And obviously, there's no words I can just use to describe just that feeling. But just once again, I'm thankful and to be in the best stadium in the NFL.
What do you know about the Green Bay Packers football team?
Man, I know they win a lot of football games. I know that they got a lot of Super Bowls, and I'm ready to add to it.
Baron, tell me about your game. What's it built around?
Man, my game is built around there's a lot of different things that I can do, but at the end of the day, I'm disciplined. I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to make plays.
Tell me about pass rush. The Packers need pass rush. Tell me about it.
Man, it's pretty simple when you really think about it. I mean, there's one guy with the ball, the ball snap, you got to go get him, and that's just a certain mentality that you have to have as a pass rusher.
I like it.
By any means, is just go get the quarterback.
Now, at the Combine, I believe you did 28 reps on the bench. That is stout, and that's one thing, but it shows up in your game. When you put your hands on folks, I want to tell you, it looks like Mad Mountain Dean jolting these guys. Just this morning, I saw you jolt the guy to the ground. Talk about the strength part of your game.
Yeah, it's a big part of my game, using power and making people uncomfortable. And I mean, that's what sets up everything else. You got to establish that power early on, and that's what's going to make people fear me.
Baron, tell me about Matthew Golden, the Packers' first-round draft choice and a teammate of yours at Texas.
Yeah, they couldn't have got a better pick, in my opinion, man. He's a dog. He's somebody that you can go to in tough times in the game, but then also somebody that's going to start the game off. So I'm excited to not just see what he do, but be a part of what he does here.
So, Baron, what do you want to get done in your rookie season as a Green Bay Packer?
Man, I'm ready to come and contribute. I want to be used however that they need me to use, and ready to just fit in where I need to be fitted in at.
Well, Baron, welcome to Green Bay. And I want to tell you, folks, you're going to like this young man. Good young man. Baron Sorrell, everybody.
I'm going to try to be a little picky and choosy. There's a lot of kind of repetitive, why were you here, all that kind of stuff. So we'll skip a little bit of that.
Barryn, you were coached by Wendell at the Senior Bowl, one of the Packers coaches. Did you have a feeling about them that may have played into your decision to come back for today and be here, thinking that maybe they might be the team that called you in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously having that relationship with him at the Senior Bowl and coaching with him, but I mean, there was a lot of coaches at the Senior Bowl, and I had a lot of follow-up meetings, and I did Zoom with the Packers, and it went well, but honestly, I definitely had no idea, especially just waiting around and trying to see who was going to be the first to call.
You and Matthew Golden had this incredible start to your Packer careers. How do you together make sure this isn't your best day as Packers?
Yeah, just going back to what got us here, and that's just hard work. I mean, Matt's a hard worker, I'm a hard worker, and we let the work speak for ourselves. I mean, obviously, just being in this light, you have to speak and everything, but what got us to this point is the work that we put in, and at Texas, man, what we did there. We won a lot of games, and now I'm just ready to come here and add value and do whatever the team needs me to do to win here.
In your Zoom call, do you recall whether you talked to Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator, on that? Do you recall if he was one of the guys on your Zoom call?
No, I met with the defensive line coaches, and it went great.
Did they give you an idea how you fit within the system at all? Did they talk about that?
Yeah, obviously throughout that process, we were just talking about my role and everything at Texas, but I'm just excited to fit wherever I need to be here.
This is probably the more memorable part that most people will refer to. This is what Milt Hendrickson was talking about as far as a clip, but just as far as the emotion and everything else that he has and whatnot.
Can you run through who you have here with you today, and have they been here since Wednesday as well?
Yeah, man. I'll start from right to left. This is my older brother, Avery. Very thankful to have a very good role model. Since I was young, shout out to this guy. He's doing investment banking at Goldman Sachs in New York. So I got to shout him out. He's taught me so much just about how to maneuver and go through things off the field. And next, my mom, man, she said,
Media obviously very awkwardly laughing because they think he's laughing, don't realize he's crying.
Her and my dad, they sacrificed so much for me to be. They sacrificed so much for me to be here, and I'm just happy that I get to share this opportunity with them because they deserve it. They deserve it so much. Man, I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have them as my parents. I'm thankful that they're here. And I could go on and on about them, but let's just say they sacrificed a lot for me to be here. My dad, since day one, I've been playing football since I grew up. Yeah. Let's go.
It's his dad, I think, encouraging him in the background.
My dad did a lot for me to be here, and I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that he gets to enjoy this experience as well. And this is my godparents. Since I was younger, they was there and supported me. I have a really good support system, I'm sorry. I have a really good support system right here, and I'm happy that they were here this weekend to enjoy this and enjoy this experience with me. So I'm thankful that they're here. And Ian and Chris, I don't know, he's probably, there he goes, man. Man, it's my agent, but he's a family member, Ian, as well, man. The memories that we were able to make this weekend, for them to give me the opportunity to be here, forever thankful for that, and thankful for the relationship that I was able to develop with them, not just on the business side, but on the family side. Thankful for them and thankful for God for putting them in my life. So that's who I have with me, man. I'm sorry for the long answer, but very passionate about all of these people. So.
If I was smart, I would have ended with that because that's obviously a very special thing and it kind of gives you an insight. But onward we go.
Barryn, what do you think is important for people to know about your journey to get to this point?
For me, man, it never came easy, and it's just a testament to God and hard work. That's how I got here, and I know the recipe. I'm never going to lean away from that. I know to work hard, and I know to lean on God. I mean, since since high school, just the way things went in terms of my recruitment. Still getting a chance to go to Texas. So thankful that I got the opportunity to go to the University of Texas as the recruit that I was. I was not one of the highest in the class, but got the opportunity and was able to work. And that got me on the field and as a freshman, and then obviously just developing and building my role there. Thankful to everybody in that program for the opportunity that they gave me, because I wouldn't be here without them. I wouldn't be here without the opportunity. And like I said, it's a lot that went into me getting here. It did not come easy at all. I mean, even just up to this weekend shows it. I mean, waiting until now and then still just it turning out the right way. I mean, that's just how it's always been for me. And I'm ready to just add on to it, because I know this is just the next step, and I know how this thing is going to go again.
Hey, Barryn, can I help you out here? We can talk a little football.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thank you. Give me a break, man.
This is need some pass rush.
Yeah.
How would you describe your game in that area? And also, you guys were pretty good down there in Texas. I would imagine it was kind of hard to get yours, right? Because so many other guys were getting them too.
Yeah.
So if you could talk a little bit about your game as a pass rusher and maybe how it evolved playing around so many good players.
Yeah, the thing about me, I think my best is still in front of me, and I've just been developing and just getting better year in and year out. And just been thankful for the coaches that I had at Texas, but going and just really learning about how to prepare as a pass rusher, just the fundamentals and things is something that I've just developed year in and year out. And I feel like I'm at my best now, and I know that my best is still in front of me. But in terms of the D-line at Texas, man, we had some guys, and I'm thankful that I was able to play next to them, because we all learned a lot and were able to do and produce the way we were because of each other. So I'm ready to come here and add to that as well, but also knowing that y'all got a great pass rusher, Rashawn Gary, and I'm like a sponge. I'm ready to learn and go in there and learn from him and add to this Packer defense.
Right. It's cool that he name dropped Rashawn, because there's a lot of people dunking on Rashawn and Van Ness and all these guys. We have no pass rush. We can't do it. So it's cool for him to come in humble and then also say, you guys have some good rushers here, and I'm excited to meet Rashawn and all that and learn from him. I mean, it's very easy to walk into the trap that's almost being set for you to be like, oh, I want to come in here and provide that pass rush that you don't have. That's a way to set a bad tone. And speaking of,
has there been a player that maybe you've looked up to throughout your career that you try to emulate your game in?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to the DC walking over here, and yeah, it's been one of the guys is Rashawn Gary. Just watching his tape, watching the thing, similar body types. There's a lot of things that I learned and tried to emulate and use in my game. So I'm ready to actually get face to face with him and actually sit down and learn.
Barryn, you said football is football, so just if the coaches are asking, like, what are we getting in Baron Sorrell? What kind of player are you?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna say I'm a leader. I'm a winner, and I'm a competitor. And I mean, I've shown that in my time at Texas, just developing. And I feel like that's the most important things about a football player. I mean, I can sit there and say specifically and go on and on about the skills and all this and all that, but I'd rather just show you. And I'm just gonna speak about my personality, and I'm ready to get to work.
I love the answer. We're gonna end the press conference with that. I've been skipping a lot of this for the sake of time. I would encourage you, head over to YouTube, the Green Bay Packers channel, and then find Baron Sorrell. I'm a leader, I'm a winner, I'm a competitor is the name of it's easy to find, obviously. It's the one that's Baron Sorrell talking to the media. I've been smiling ear to ear listening to this guy talk, even through the questions that I've been skipping. So definitely, if you want to get a better look at him and just to kind of see him and what he just seems like a super genuine and cool guy. Last thing I wanted to bring up, his Senior Bowl performance. He was a standout at the Senior Bowl. Big thing for the Packers. If these guys blow up at the Senior Bowl, keep a close eye on them. Very similar to our second round pick who blew up at the Senior Bowl, really helped his stock. Here's an article from Athlon Sports. Texas Baron Sorrell earns major honor at Reese's Senior Bowl. With the Senior Bowl practice now wrapped up in Mobile, Alabama, all eyes are set on the game schedule for Saturday, blah, blah, blah. Throughout the American team's practice, one defensive standout shined brighter than a star in the midnight sky, capturing attention with his exceptional performance during a variety of drills. On Friday, Texas Longhorns linebacker Baron Sorrell, an NFL hopeful, stole the spotlight and earned top defensive lineman honors from the American team's offensive line during the Practice Player of the Week awards ceremony. Before the Senior Bowl, Sorrell was on the verge of being overlooked on many NFL draft boards. However, after an impressive week of practice at Mobile, the senior linebacker has likely boosted his stock, with an anonymous NFC scout suggesting he could now be in line for a potential 4th-round grade. Go figure. Wonder which NFC team that was. Over at the Draft Network, they wrote an article, Baron Sorrell succeeding at the Senior Bowl. Wednesday's second practice of the 2025 Senior Bowl was littered with competitiveness and intensity. One player who was at the forefront of the physicality displayed was Texas defensive lineman Baron Sorrell. A string of reps between Sorrell and LSU, this is kind of one of the main standouts, LSU offensive tackle Emory Jones was arguably the highlight of the American team session. Sorrell won the first rep by shredding Jones Jr. en route to the quarterback. The LSU blocker claimed victory on the follow-up by running the rusher up the arc. Sorrell later won the tiebreaker by bull-rushing Jones directly into the quarterback's pocket. Sorrell was a routine standout during the second practice session. The versatile Texas defender is an athletic specimen who can defeat offensive linemen with a deep and complex pass rush arsenal. Would-be blockers who aligned opposite him in pass protection learned that the hard way on Wednesday. The quote from him says, "As a competitive player, I want to be the best. I'm just coming out here to show that I'm a competitive player. I can do things in the run game. I can do things in the pass game. That was my main thing, just coming out here and showing these coaches that I'm a leader, I'm a winner, I'm a competitor." There's a over here on Twitter from Ryan Fowler, if you're able to find it, from January 29th. He's got the reps there. I'll do you a solid and retweet it so you can find it easier. Hog NFL, I think once the Packers drafted him, he pointed out Packers 4th-round defensive end Baron Sorrell was named the top defensive lineman in American squad in the Senior Bowl. And then he had some quotes here from Move the Sticks, which is Daniel Jeremiah. "He stuns blockers. He's outstanding with that jolt." And then Dane Brugler's quote, "He is relentless in the run game." Retweet that one too. So if you go over to my Pack_Daddy on X on Twitter, you'll see a string of Baron Sorrell stuff there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. I feel like we've covered him pretty well. I'm real excited to get to see the guy, get to know the guy, and hopefully he has a fantastic career here in Green Bay. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
1, 2, this ain't no drill. New breed in the trenches. Get your feel from the heart of Texas, where the legends roam. Now the frozen tundra's about to be his home. Baron Sorrell, the name you fear, coming off the edge, bringing the atmosphere. Used to the heat, but it'll make you feel the chill. Lambo leaps coming, that's the deal. He's a sack man, come the QB's dread, living in the backfield, messing with your head. Power and the motor, a dangerous blend. Baron Sorrell's here until the bitter end. Green Bay's got a monster breaking through the line. It's Sorrell season, baby, it's his time to shine. See him on the snap, a blur in the green and gold. Blocker standing still, their future's on hold. He's a one-man wrecking crew, a force of nature. Leave you on your backside, that's his signature. Bench press speaks volumes, the power is immense. Run game, pass game, ain't no defense. He's got that dog in him, you can hear the bark, leaving offensive linemen lost in the